Hey everybody, I'm Sierra,
And I'm Ben.
and welcome back to another episode of The Unsolved Couple, where every week Ben and I recap one of your original gateway drugs into true crime.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Okie dokie, artichoke. Ben, you look so thrilled to be sitting here right now.
I'm always thrilled to be sitting with you.
No matter the
No
circumstances.
matter the circumstances.
Oh, the cat is in here.
Yep.
Should we get into it? We are.
What episode is this? Are we almost done with season 4?
I think we're at 22. Is this season season 4, good gravy, episode 22, I think. That's my guess.
Are we almost done?
I honestly haven't looked ahead. There can't be many more. It's not like there's 30 episodes.
What'd you think of this episode?
I loved this episode.
You loved it.
I thought it was cool. It was unique. It was different. We have some interesting stories. So do you want to end with your kidnapping story?
I mean, if you want to end being angry, sure.
Okay. So me, you. Okay. All right.
That was our pre-production.
Yeah. Glad you guys all got to be here for that. All right. So I'm going to give you a unexplained segment of...
It's not unexplained.
Of Unsolved Mysteries.
I'm so glad you took this one.
I was actually really excited to take this one.
I'm glad you did.
Okay. I'm intrigued to hear, as we get into it, why you are already annoyed about this story. It doesn't even have anything to do with aliens or Bigfoot or anything else along those. Speaking of that, real quick, did you go over any of the new released UFO files that the government put out?
No, why would I do that?
Okay, well, I did, so there's the difference between me and you.
Okay. Is there a picture, video, and confirmation of an alien?
Of an alien being? No.
I want to see the green man.
But there
the
is
real green man.
Some intense videos of unidentified flying objects.
Oh my gosh. It's all the same. It's the same.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the green man?
Well,
I want to see him.
If you want to really put your tinfoil hat on and connect some dots, there's a lot of people that think that these files came out right as the catastrophe with the people that were sharing child explicit material on the Disney cruise lines and the Hantavirus cruise line, and that the UFO files were just the government's way of distracting us from paying attention to these other things. Like, don't look over there, look over here.
Everything is a conspiracy now. Everything is. It's all a conspiracy. Tomorrow's sunrise is a conspiracy. Yeah. It's there to distract us from something else. Yeah. Time is a conspiracy.
Time is a construct, but I do have questions about Antarctica. That's a podcast.
It's a conspiracy.
That's a podcast for another day.
Does Africa even exist? Have you ever seen it? Is it really there? It's all a conspiracy. The whole world is a conspiracy.
You guys, Ben is so easy to bait on conspiracy theories, and I love it so much. Okay.
Just tell your story.
But what I'm telling you about today is not a conspiracy theory. 2 explorers believe that they have located the remains of what they believe to be Noah's Ark in the mountains of Turkey. The existence, Robert Stack tells us, of Noah's Ark is one of the greatest mysteries of the Bible. According to the Bible, the great ship which rescued mankind from an incredible... Sometimes reading Robert Stack's quotes are hard because he uses nonsensical words, but they are poetic and beautiful.
I think his vocabulary is, I think we've said it before, it's great.
It is great, yeah. All right, so he said, the existence of Noah's Ark is one of the greatest mysteries of the Bible. According to the Bible, the great ship which rescued mankind from an incredible deluge, something like that, rests somewhere in the dangerous and inaccessible snow-frozen caps of the Aradia Mountains. In recent years, several expeditions under separate explorers have explored these mountains for the Ark. Incredibly, two separate teams believe that they may have found the Ark in two different locations, only 17 miles apart from each other. Okay, so Robert Sachs is going to kind of give us a little bit of background on these two different expeditions. So in 1969, a Turkish businessman named George Hagenbahn claimed the Ark rest on Mount Arctica's northeast side under a permanent 23-inch mile glacier. And so we're going to go back in time a little bit to 1906 when this Turkish businessman was a young boy. He thought he saw Noah's Ark wedged in a melted part of the glacier. He gave a description of the vessel that he had seen to an archaeological illustrator named Alfred Lee. According to Hagenbahn, or the George, he said, quote, "It looked like a long box. It was rectangular and the corners were kind of rounded a little bit. The sides sloped in slightly. The roof," he said, "was basically flat with just a slight pitch to it. And there was a stair kind of apparatus at one end. His uncle hoisted him up onto a ladder and he walked up on the roof, and there, all the way down the middle of the roof, he saw all of these holes, and he stuck his head in and it was dark, and he shouted and his voice echoed and re-echoed from inside. It was hollow." George went back a couple years later and saw the same thing, but the ice and snow had begun to cover it up again. So, 17 years later, in 1986, Lee met Ed Davis, a U.S. Army official stationed in Iran, who in 1943 was with the U.S. Army. Davis also said he had seen the Ark during a flight over the mountains in roughly the same area. As George's sightings and his description it was almost like that George had seen with one difference. Over the years, the Ark had appeared to have been broken into two by the receding and advancing ice. So the ice ebbing and flowing, expanding and melting had caused the Ark to break into two separate pieces. Davis described 3 decks inside with large cages on the bottom, and then smaller cages on the second deck, and on the roof, a venting system with many holes on it. He said he could see the light and the ventilation system go clear to the bottom deck. All right, so although George and David weren't able to pinpoint the exact locations, their story intrigued a man named Don, who tells us his lower third says he's an amateur archaeologist.
I'm sorry, what? He was a what?
Amateur.
What does it mean to be amateur?
I had a lot of questions on that part. I didn't get any more information.
Didn't we have an amateur like ghost hunter or something like that?
But couldn't you be an amateur at anything? That just means that it's a hobby.
Saying. I could be an amateur
cowboy.
Sure.
And I could be an amateur.
I don't know. You're not an amateur or anything.
Oh my goodness.
You're a professional at
back
everything
and forth
you do.
People are going to get real sick of you being so uberly gooey-tooey.
Gooey-tooey?
Yeah.
What's gooey-tooey?
I don't know. It was the first thing that came to my mind.
What's a tooey?
Okay. No further information on the amateur and archaeology seems like something you might want to be a little bit skilled in.
Well, technically, you could be an amateur geologist. To go look at rocks.
Yeah, but I don't know anything about them.
So it just means that someone that goes around and digs a hole.
Because even Indiana Jones, wasn't he a professor?
Well, he was a character in a movie. He wasn't a real person.
I understand that, but he himself, even as a character in a fake world, wasn't an amateur, right? He was a real...
I don't know. Indiana Jones is awesome.
He was a professor.
He was a professor.
So he was a highly educated person in this field.
He went around and he found the Holy Grail. He found the Ark of the Covenant.
Do you think we're eventually going to have an Unsolved Mystery episode on those things? It's
Probably.
right up in there with Noah's Ark. Right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. All right. So Don, though amateur he may be, he is actually able to launch a full expedition to the mountain in April of 1989 after studying classified U.S. satellite photos. For 3 days, he and his guides climbed up the mountain's south side. But here's the weird part, and I have some more questions about this. The Turkish government has a blockade on part of that mountain that only actual native Turkish people are allowed to go to this area. So even though he'd put together this expedition and hired guides and they'd gone up the mountain, they get to basically a stopping point, an invisible line that he as an American citizen is not allowed to cross. So Ahmet is the Turkish guide. He encourages him to take his camera and go past this point. So he continued to climb an elevation of nearly 16,000 more feet. It's a lot of feet.
He climbed that?
Mm-hmm. Continued on by himself to an elevation of nearly 16,000 feet.
I was going to say, I don't think your numbers are right on that.
My dyslexia jumped ahead a little bit and I missed a word there. Continued on by himself to the elevation of 1,600 feet, not in addition
16,000.
16,000. Yes. Here we go.
You know what? Let's just forget numbers from here on out. All right.
He went further by himself. I'm trying to say.
He went to where no one else was allowed to go.
Yes.
Unless you're a citizen.
Did you find that crazy? Do you know of anywhere in the United States outside of like military bases or things like that, just national parks or anything like that, where if you are here visiting, legally you are allowed to be here, you have a passport, whatever, that you are not allowed to go?
I don't know. I'm sure maybe there's an example of some sort. I guess allowed to go because the government has.
The government said only American citizens are allowed to go past this line.
I mean, I think you're probably right. It's only probably bases, and even that, American citizens.
And I can't. We live, 20 miles as the crow flies from Davis Monson, and even as an American citizen, I one time drove past a little too far where I was supposed to go and had to turn around at the base because there's multiple entrances for the base around Tucson. And once you get past a certain point, even though you're not in the base, there is no turning around.
You gotta commit.
And so I went up farther and rolled down my window and I was like, I'm so sorry. I missed my turn and I'm just trying to turn around. And they acted like it was a problem.
It was a problem.
And I am in my minivan. Like
you should go back again and apologize.
To them.
A second time.
So I don't know of anywhere. And reach out to us, listeners. If you live in a country where it's like, hey, if you have family visiting and they're not citizens, they're not allowed to accompany you to a certain spot geographically. Because I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Because to me, this is in comparison to like if we took some family or friends to Yellowstone or Yosemite or Zion National Park or the Smoky Mountains. Like we didn't visit Tennessee and them say, you have to show your passport and be able to walk the rest of this trail. Did you find that crazy?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I'm like, what are they hiding? That's a conspiracy.
No, but am I surprised? No.
No. All right. So Ahmed, though, however, is able to continue on, as we have already established, climbing to the height of 16,000 feet. At that height, he spotted something that appeared to be half buried in the snow and takes a picture. These men self-control to not just go farther because you're up in the mountains and who's watching? I don't know. Maybe you don't mess around with the Turkish government.
I was going to say, I think when you go to some countries, it's very clear you don't break the law.
Yeah. I know this is why I would probably have a problem. If I went to like North Korea.
I don't think you're allowed in North Korea.
Yeah, I know sometimes you're allowed, but I'm just saying when there are countries that have laws like
What
this.
world are you living in? That you're just hopping a flight to North Korea.
You guys, if I could go to North Korea, I would.
You're out of your mind.
I know, but I also tried to get you one time to agree to me going unaccompanied to Cuba.
Again, you're out of your mind.
He takes his picture, and it's just about 300 yards away from where he takes the picture. And Ahmet tells them that he thinks he spotted a chicken coop. Why there's a chicken coop at 16,000 feet on the top of this abandoned mountain, I don't know. However, they believe that it's possible that he had glimpsed the remains of Noah's Ark. So he takes the photograph, gets it developed, and then gives it to a forensics anthropologist. And mind you, this is a real one. He's a doctor. This is not an amateur forensics.
Not an amateur one?
Yeah. He doesn't work at anthropology and thinks that bones and structures are cool. So his name is Dr. Jim Ebert.
Bravestone.
Dr.
Every time you say doctor, I just want to say
Bravestone.
Bravestone.
Who declared it to be distinctly man-made. So by the time, unfortunately, they returned back to this mountain in 1990, no further word if they got permission to go farther or not, but they went back to the area. It was completely hidden once again by snow and ice. And this kind of stopped the research, but these men remain convinced that they may have found the resting spot of Noah's Ark. So Arthur and Ark researcher, a man named David, actually disagrees with these men's conclusions. So he's a former merchant marine officer and merchant salvage expert, and he believes that the Ark is in another location buried 17 miles south of the mountain. During a separate investigation in the late 1800s, he and his team searched the site and discovered numerous...
in the late what? You said 1800s.
1980s.
Okay. I'm just
No,
making
I appreciate
sure.
it because that, you guys, if you ever like, man, I wonder what it's like to have dyslexia, that is a perfect example, is that I only read about a third or half of a sentence or a word before I move on to the next thing.
I was just trying to figure out what they learned in the late 1800s.
No, it was the 1980s, so
okay.
We're a little bit more current day.
We're almost 100 years past that.
Yeah, just
got it.
Few years. So they discovered numerous iron fittings and pins 20 to 30 inches apart. They scanned the ground by electronic microscope at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, Los Angeles. They discovered the iron fitting was 94% man-made wrought iron. And did you have something to say to that? Nope. Okay. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that these men took these readings. The iron is man-made, not natural occurring in this.
Something man-made's there.
Something man-made is there. And the way that it pinged back at them, I think about this like a dolphin. Do you know how a dolphin senses things with sound? Where it goes, the sound waves go out and then it comes back and it gets an image of it? Just imagine that a dolphin went over this area. And the dolphin, it goes beep, 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 beep. And the sound waves go boop, 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 boop. And in his mind's eye, he is able to visualize this grid.
This dolphin is visualizing.
Yes. It turns out that the dolphin is able to distinguish
the dolphin?
Distinct patterns of intersecting lines like the framework of an arc.
Or a ship.
But here's the crazy part.
Man-made.
Is that the boat that they believe that they have found length is at 515 feet at the width and around 85 feet at the same measurements as recorded in the good book.
The Bible.
The Bible. However, other researchers believe that David only found the remains of an ancient Mongolian fort, while others insist that it's just a geological anomaly. The Turkish government, though, however, has declared the mount the official site of where Noah Ark rests. And that is
Well, then problem solved. If the government
but they
just
don't
said
let you
that's
go up
where it
into the other
is,
place where you're
I just like it. Like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll declare my backyard as it, and then I can just charge people.
Okay, well, dude, that grid pattern that we pretended was a dolphin looking, I was trying to give a
No, we
visual
didn't.
effect for
You did.
people. I was trying to give you a visual of what they
You're
were
trying to
doing.
give us a visual of a dolphin walking across the ground,
Well, he
going
wouldn't be
beep, beep,
walking.
beep,
He
beep,
doesn't
beep.
have any feet. He would be floating like this. Boop, bloop, bloop.
All right.
Did you think that they showed us what the pattern looked like where all of those iron pieces hit?
It could be anything.
Something is there.
It could be, sure, but it could be anything.
But it fits the measurements of Noah's Ark.
It only fits it because they wanted to fit it.
And it said in the Bible where it landed, and this is where they believe that is based on what.
All right.
The other thing I will tell you about this, whether you are a religious person or not, there are multiple other ancient texts who, in their writings, refer to some sort of ship and great flood happening on the earth. That is kind of my. So I will say, when they had some experts and people interviewed on Unsolved Mysteries, they kind of raised that point that yes, the Old Testament is full of wild stories. A man living inside of a whale. I can't think of any others off the top of my head that are insane, but that one has always been like a weird moment to me. But that would really suck because I cannot imagine it smells good inside of a whale.
I think a man got swallowed by a whale not too long ago.
I
A few
understand that,
years
but I
ago.
don't
I
think
think
he lived for like months on end and then spat back out after he learned a lesson.
Well, maybe.
He
You don't
probably
know.
did have a come to Jesus moment in
I
that.
bet
If
he
I got
did.
swallowed by a whale, what are the odds?
And you live to tell a tale and you don't come out
and I don't get a story written about me in a ancient text, I'm gonna be ticked.
If you get swallowed by a whale and you live to tell a tale and you don't come out a God-fearing man, I'm just saying, watch out.
Watch out. Parting of the Red Sea, that happened in the Old Testament too, right?
Yes.
Yes. Water getting brought out of rocks, cracked open, that happened in the Old Testament too, right? Okay. What about the giant dude? Is that New Testament or Old Testament? David and Goliath.
Old Testament.
Okay, so what I'm saying is a lot of people have some questions about stories in the Old Testament. There's a lot of beliefs around are they metaphorically, are they what have you not? But the thing that is interesting about Noah's Ark is that it is referenced in other ancient texts. And then on top of that, to then find something that that symbolizes or looks like a boat in the area that these ancient texts referenced does give some weight to this theory. Do you not think it's the Ark?
I don't know. Maybe.
It would be a very cool discovery.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think it would have any impact on the world if someone came out and said, yes, we definitively as science believe that this is the Ark?
Nope.
No. I don't think it, and here's the thing.
We'll get into it.
Okay, yeah, all right, okay. Let me give you, that's kind of where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us.
All right, give us an update.
So, as of May of 2026, the search for the Ark does continue, but remains unsolved. So, most of the attention still centers around both of those spots in eastern Turkey. Researchers investigating the area have used ground penetrating radar, like our dolphin does, and have done soil analysis to study a large boat shaped formation first identified in the 1950s. Recent tests reportedly found higher levels of an organic matter, potassium, and carbon inside compared to other areas. which researchers suggest indicate decaying of wood and other material objects. Something's buried there is what their research is showing. And that it seems like it might be likely preserved underneath a mud flow. The team also points out to the radar scan showing underground tunnels and a long central corridor, and layers the structure that many believe resembles compartments within a large man-made vessel. Despite these findings, the claims do remain controversial. The and to this day technically unproven. Many geologists and archaeologists argue that the formation in Turkey is most likely a natural occurring feature rather than the remains of Noah's Ark. The skeptics of the project note that the unusual shapes and layers and material difference can occur through natural erosion over a long period of time, including settlement or sediment movement and other geological processes. While researchers involved in the project describe the new scans and solid data as promising, there is no definitive proof as what is buried beneath that site in Turkey, leading the mystery to remain unsolved at this time. Okay.
We all saw that coming.
Yeah, I think I do remember a few years ago.
The minute he brought this up, I knew exactly where it was going and how it was going to end.
What do you say more?
He's talking about the mystery of the ark. It does not matter what people say they think they found. The ark is thousands of years old. No one's going to be able to lift an entire boat out of the ground or the mountains and it be definitive and say, here we go. There's always going to be this expert, nope, this expert, nope. It does not matter what you find because it's so long ago. Do I believe in the ark? Absolutely. If we found it, awesome. But even if we find it, there will be it'll still be split. People will say, no, that's not it. And this is why, because I found this over here, or it doesn't have this or this. There will never be a definitive answer on it. Doesn't matter. So, like I said, I think it would be awesome if we found it. It's cool. And I think I've said this before. We talked about something. It does not change it. Even if you did find it, it doesn't like all of a sudden change people's faith. It just doesn't.
I'm saying even if you remove the faith element out of it and it just be looked at as science and research, are you saying that you don't think there's even a point in looking and
No, I'm not.
excavating and
Here's the
doing
thing.
all
I
of
think it's
that because it
cool.
doesn't matter?
I think it's great. You knock yourself out. Go ahead. But I also think you could spend.
Do you think, as someone who has a faith, it would affect your faith if they came
No.
out definitively? Not in a negative way, but do you think it would add
Nope.
any credit? So it wouldn't sway you either way.
No.
It wouldn't be like, oh, here's more in support of me having faith.
I don't need that.
Yeah.
I already like my faith is what it is. Like
Mhm.
I don't need to be proven that my faith is right. Cause in my mind, it already is.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
So no, it doesn't change the way I believe. That doesn't change the way I see the world or scripture, because I already have my belief there, and I
Yeah.
feel it's rooted pretty strongly.
So last year for homeschool, we studied ancient civilization, kind of the Vikings and stuff like that, which I know is not nearly as old as Old Testament, but it is an old civilization. And there actually is, to this day, up in parts of Greenland and Iceland and different things, they have found all kinds of material still left, including a full ship that they've been able to put together. It is possible that there is some evidence left there that remains there. I think you're going to have to get a lot of stuff together for the Turkish government to allow you to start digging up that.
My point is because it's so long, And there is no definitive answer of where it is and what it is.
Yeah.
And what it exactly looks like. We all have the idea of what it is because of some of the descriptions in it.
Yeah.
Because it's so old, because it's been so long, you could probably pull a boat out of the ground and it'd be signed by Noah, and there would still be a crowd of people to say that's not it.
Well,
So it's
I mean, even
what I'm
that's
saying.
basically the story of Noah's Ark, right? Like the rain starts falling and people are like, still don't believe it.
That's what I'm saying is. So, but I don't have a problem. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that people are.
Would you, okay, for people that live outside of the United States, did you know that there is a museum in the United States that has, per the Bible, had the way, because Noah's Ark is a story from the Old Testament, and the most versions of the Bible have this story. And God comes to Noah and tells him that he needs to build a boat because a great flood is going to inhabit the earth and kind of push a reset button on civilization because it's just become too terribly full of sin. And God doesn't just have him make any boat. He gives him very detailed instructions on what it is to look like, what the size is, and what it is to be filled with, right? Two of every animal. I think the unicorns missed the boat that day, and probably the dragons. That's the only reason they're not there. But there is a museum. I think gosh, I had it pulled up earlier. It's in Kentucky. And this is a museum that is a real full size version, per the Bible's instructions, that they have built the ark in Kentucky, and it is a museum.
Awesome.
Have you ever heard of this before?
No.
So I've looked, and it is an entire encounter. When you go there, it's humongous, okay? And you have to like park and ride a shuttle in, and there is all kinds. They even have animal encounters there because obviously animals were involved in the ark. There's a zoo, there is a playground, there is food, they have speakers, special events, all kinds of stuff, even a zip line. And let's see, I wonder if we can look up how much the tickets are. I don't, but this looks like a really interesting place. I feel like this sounds really, and I can say this because I'm a homeschool parent. This looks like a homeschool family's dream vacation. General admission to the Ark. What do you think the price is? Now, remind you, this is like a big religious thing, and they want to open to as many people as possible. What do you think?
$18 a person.
Nope.
Okay.
So first off, 10 and under, I would say this is larger than most, is free. Children 10 and under is free. I'll give them that. That's a good deal. We get to ages 11 through 17, it does jump up a little bit.
Okay.
$31.99, so $32.
Better be a lot to do over there.
But then adults 18 plus, $64.99. $65 per person if you are over 18 to go see this thing. Now, I'm sure this was not a cheap thing. And that's just for your basic. That doesn't include anything into like anything else. That's just the ark. Let's see, the most expensive pass, the ultimate bouncer pass. Oh, this is for a full year. You can buy a pass for a whole year for $500. So there you go.
Well, at least you got a pass to the ark in case it does flood again. You got a free pass.
Yeah. I'm going to say something wild. And this might gasp everyone's pearls. I grew up my entire life assuming that this didn't happen across the whole world, that the whole world wasn't flooded, but that the mindset of people writing their scripture stories or they're writing in their journals because they didn't understand the scope of the size of the earth, that this flood mostly just happened in this area.
It's possible.
Because Yeah, I don't know. That is my I guess my whole life growing up hearing these stories and that flooded, I just always assumed, well, these people are writing about like their personal experience in their area and their mindset of the world is what's around them. And this could have been a huge area. Obviously, this boat floated for a long, was it 40 days?
Hmm.
Why is everything 40 in the Bible?
That's I think it's a specific number.
It is a specific number for a lot of things, but
Yeah, the Lord
I
fasted for
I
40
guess I just
days.
assumed that that was a a them problem, like that it was just over there. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but I didn't realize up until adulthood that the consensus was that this was a worldwide, encompassed the whole of the world.
I just think when God said, I'm going to flood the earth, they just assumed he meant the whole earth. That's what he said. So
Mhm.
I think
I
that's why there's that. I'm just saying that's why there's that consensus.
maybe I'm just telling
When
you.
God says, I don't think he meant like
It was just one of those
the
things
earth
as
of your
adulthood, I
backyard.
realized, oh, I think I've been thinking about this very differently than everybody else has. I don't know. For Unsolved Mysteries, I thought this was a lighthearted, fun,
Yeah, it was.
casual story that I find very interesting. I like digging up rocks and cool treasures. And if someone found what they believed is the Ark, that sounds like a fun day.
The only reason I didn't want it
Yeah,
is
why didn't you?
because I just saw, I knew exactly where it was going from the minute he said it. It was just like the cloth thing.
That's what it was, the cloth, yeah, of
You knew
Turin or whatever.
exactly that this is an unsolvable mystery.
And that even if they dug up a
It's
whole ship,
unsolvable.
yeah, I think you said that it was signed by Noah, his staff
They
is sitting there.
I don't have any problems with people exploring and doing this, but you present it in this way, and a lot of people, because they want to know, me personally, is there going to be an ending? I knew there was never going to be. And even I knew 40 years later,
Mhm.
and 40 years from now, it still will be unsolved.
I will say, I think the best rendition of Noah's Ark is the movie with Steve Carell.
Yeah, I love it. It's
Is it
great.
Evan Almighty?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great
it's
movie.
an amazing movie. All right, Ben, give us what you got.
All right. I have a lost love. We're going to knock out the two. You have a murder. I have a murder. I guess we're going to end on those. I got a lost love. This is a sad story.
Didn't say murder correctly.
Murder. 1941, Ottawa, Iowa. We get told this story. There's three brothers and a sister, and they have been left with their aunt because their father has been institutionalized and their mother is pregnant with another kid and unable to work. So the aunt says, you know what? I don't want to take care of these kids. So she calls child welfare department and pretty much says, get out of here. And the child welfare department, I just bumped my mic, they come and pick up these kids and take them away. And that's where we get introduced to Donald Stradt. He's 5.5 at the time. And he's the one interviewed. He's the one talking and telling us this story. He doesn't know what's going on. He's like, I don't know. I'm just thinking I'm going for a ride. This is the same story we've been told many of times. So his two brothers get sent to an Iowa State youth facility. I don't know what that is. I'm going to guess probably not the best. But Donald and his sister whose sister is like 2 at the time, 2 or 3. They don't tell us her exact age, but she's young. They get sent to a Lutheran children's home and they're put into the care of the head nurse. And he tells us it was tough. They didn't really, like I said, they didn't really know what was going on. And the head nurse is having a hard time with his sister because she's upset. She wants her family. She wants her mom. She wants to go home. And so Donald tells us, like, I was the one. I stepped in. I took care of her. He said he played with her. He spent time with her. She wouldn't eat, so he fed her. Like in the reenactment, the nurse gives him the food and says, "Get your sister to eat this." And so he's sitting there at the table and feeding her food and stuff. So pretty soon, Donald figures out, yeah, we're not going home. So he, at one point, says, "You know what? We're going to escape." So he says, when the nurse...
You guys buckle up, because this story gets hilariously... it's heartbreaking, but this is a highlight moment. And this kid is, at this moment...
I think he's awesome.
He's awesome. He is attempting a superhero escape
So he
here.
says, all right, they're not coming back for us. We're on our own. So when she's busy off doing something, then the head lady grabs his sister and he takes her out. There's a Model A Ford in the driveway. He gets his sister in. He can't see over the thing. He says, "I just know that if you push this button," I don't know how a Model A Ford works because I've never driven one, but there's a button on the floor. And he says, "If I push it, it'll go." So he would get down, push it for a little bit, then get up and see where he was going. And he was trying to get to the road. He goes, "I didn't know which way to go." He goes, "I just knew that if I got on that road, it'd take me somewhere closer to home." So he's continuing to do this. Get down, push the button, get up, look and see where he goes. And as this is happening, guess what
The
happens?
mom in me is having a panic attack watching this. Somebody get eyes on these children, because a lot of terrible things could have happened in this moment. But also, this kid is awesome. He's what, 5 years old, 5, 6? And decides, this sweet little image of a boy, not even tall enough to look over the steering wheel, but trying, regardless of every obstacle in his way, that he was going to save him and his sister.
Yep. So his sister's named Dolores. So he's trying to escape with him. As he's doing this, the door gets ripped open. The nurse grabs him by the collar, is like, "What are you doing?" and takes him back inside. So his escape plan didn't work out.
Doesn't just take him back inside. He says,
oh, he got whooped.
They beat him.
He said he didn't even know what he got hit with, a rod, a fist, or what, but he got a good beating. So not too long after that...
I will never understand these women that get involved in taking care of children that are still monsters. Why?
It was a different time.
It might have been a different time, but
I'm not saying it makes it right.
As a female, these natural instincts to be nurturing, do better.
Do better. All right. So Dolores does eventually get adopted. And Donald doesn't know that, but his sister is now just gone. And he's really upset about it. He's asking the people, where's my sister? Where's my sister? And they're just like, you don't need to know. Don't worry about it. So he's upset. Now he's there by himself. But guess what? The people that adopted Dolores, they're having a hard time because now Dolores misses her brother. And so she won't do anything. She won't sleep. She won't eat. She's crying for her brother. So guess what happens? The parents that adopted Dolores send for Donald. So Donald shows up, comforts his sister at this new house, helps feed her, do all the things that they need her to do. And he ends up staying there for a couple days. But they make it very clear, you are to stay in the background. Just help us when we ask for help. Okay.
Once again.
Yes.
I don't know what happened to people during the Great Depression or everything leading up to that, but it seemed to create terrible adults. And I'm not saying all adults, because we have some amazing heroics that came out of that time. However, in the relationship between adults and children at this time,
not all. This is we're always gonna hear the extreme cases.
Okay, but don't always assume that when I'm saying that this seemed to be a regular problem, that I am making a broad statement that it's every adult at that time.
I'm just saying.
However, it was a rampant problem.
the stories that have come out from family separations at this time have been pretty wild. This one, how they like, hey, bring this kid over here and help. We need his help getting his sister calmed down. So he does for a few days, and then the nurse shows back up and was like, "Hey, Donald, do you want to go downtown?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want to go downtown." He's a 5.5-year-old kid. Of course he wants to go downtown. And guess what? Never sees his sister again. So I wrote down this quote. I thought it was very sweet because here's this man. It's now been, what, 50 something years? He tells us, he says, "I think of Dolores almost every day. She's still my sister, no matter what time has done." And I thought that was very, very sweet. So he has since, his mom got divorced from her husband that was institutionalized. She remarried and had 5 more kids. He's since in his life was reunited with his 2 brothers and his other sister who was born after because his mom was pregnant at the time that they got taken away. And they were all reunited in 1965. So, and he knows his mom, knows her kids. I'm going to guess. We don't really know what happened to him. He doesn't say. And I looked it up, like what happened, how he grew up. But that is pretty much where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us. He is looking for his sister,
All
Dolores.
right. Give us the update. Was Dolores acquired?
Yes. Update within minutes of the broadcast.
I always love that. Within minutes of the broadcast.
She called in and says,
she called in herself.
She's like, that's me. She knew, like she had some idea.
She said, like, I rarely miss an episode of Unsolved
Yeah.
Mysteries. Yeah.
And she said, like, I always wondered if it would ever be my time.
Mhm.
And she's like, wait, that's my story. Her name now is Penelope Sue Lewis.
I love the name
And
Penelope.
she technically only lived 50 miles from where
50, not 15, right?
Yeah, 50,
Okay.
50, from where Donald. And a couple days later, they all met at a park close to Penelope's home. And she was reunited with all of her family, all of her extended family, and even her mom was still alive. Like she's very old at this time, but she was still alive at the time, and Penelope got to see her mom and reunite with Donald. So that was that. So I did a little more digging. It looks like Penelope is still alive. At least I couldn't find anything. Donald, unfortunately, passed away in 2018. But I read his obituary.
That 2018 was a while ago, but it was still significantly long. I mean, after this, it gave them a lot of time together.
Yeah. I read his obituary.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
He was known in the town as Papa Don. He was married to Georgia May for 56 years.
Aww.
He had 8 children.
Holy cow.
Unfortunately, at some point, he lost 2 of them. We don't know how.
Yeah.
But was a steel worker, a carpenter, and he did like fine woodworking on the side. I guess he spent most of his life being a carpenter, and went to church regularly, was very well loved in the community. And his wife had passed away and before him, like I think in 2014, if I'm right. But still had several kids. It just looked like he lived. You could tell by the way he talked. He was a good man.
I agree.
And so I'm glad I got to see his sister. Look like he lived a very
fulfilling life.
Good life.
Good. All right. Ready to talk about murder. Tracy Tracy Wofford-Bunn. Gosh, sorry. I've been drinking Diet Coke. Can you tell? I shouldn't be drinking carbonated beverages while trying to record. In 1988, 26-year-old Tracy Wofford-Bunn divorced her husband of 2 years, his name was Solomon, and moved from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and started a new life with her sister. She soon got a job at a local restaurant and later a new boyfriend. At 4:30 on the afternoon of March 31st, 1989, Tracy's boyfriend drops her off at work. Later that evening, he and his cousin were driving in her car when the gear shift broke off the intersection of Texas and East Polk. They left the car on the side of the street. It was about a half mile from his cousin's home and just walked back to the house. So, he's actually interviewed in the show Unsolved Mysteries. He comes forward and talks, so was her sister. It seemed like she had a job and had the car and he didn't have those things and wanted to just drive around. And it doesn't seem like maybe they were up to always.
It sounds like you have opinions and you're trying to hold them back.
Yeah.
Because I have opinions and I'm holding them back.
Yeah. Okay. So
he just leaves his girlfriend's car and then tells her, "Hey, I don't know, I broke your car."
Yeah. Okay. So we're the very next part of the story. Around midnight, and he shares this part. He doesn't call her at work.
He was supposed to pick her up.
He's supposed to pick her up. She just
in
worked
her car
till midnight and is expecting her boyfriend to be
pick
there
her
to
up.
pick her up. Boys, this is the bare minimum that women should expect from a guy in their life.
Do
Do
better.
And he's a no-show. No call, no show. So
Yes,
she calls.
I have lots of problems
She
with
calls him and learns, "Oh, sorry, your car broke. We left it on the side of the road and walked to the cousin's house." So they obviously get into an argument. And she goes to the cousin's house where it seems like the argument continues a little bit to the point where she grabs her keys. And now this is well after midnight. And from what I read post Unsolved Mysteries watching, this was a very dangerous part of town. So these two men, per Unsolved Mysteries, are like sitting in this house playing video games, almost acting like she is overreacting to the problem. And this woman probably just worked a several-hour shift on her feet. Now her car is broken and her boyfriend's playing video games at his cousin's house. I would be ticked too. She grabs her keys and decides she's going to go get her car. Because here's the thing about a broken gear shift, it still works. The car is still technically drivable, it's just difficult to shift and it can still be turned on. And now it's just been abandoned on the side of the road. And she worked hard. Like, this was her vehicle. So she's going to go get it.
This lady's like restarting her life.
Yes.
Working hard to do it.
Yeah. So she swoops up her keys, and the cousin and the boyfriend kind of laugh her off and roll their eyes like, "Oh, women, so dramatic." And she leaves the house around 12:30 p.m. The car is about a half mile away. Tracy's never seen again. So let that sink in. At around 2 a.m., a witness says that she saw Tracy's car being driven into the parking lot at 550 Oklahoma a few hours later. This is where the car would eventually be found. On the morning of April 1st, she is found dead in her car in that parking lot. She had been raped and strangled. There is no sign of a struggle, and her clothes have appeared to have been removed from her and then put back on her, likely post-mortem. There is no evidence of a robbery. So the police who were interviewed, I will say, I loved this detective. He when he's interviewed, if this man works in the kind of area of town, because this is, where are we at here? They're in Rouge, Louisiana. This man interviewed takes this crime very serious and seems to be very upset about it and doesn't mince a lot of words. He is very well aware that this crime appears to be sexually motivated and that it cost Tracy her life. So investigators believed, based on what they find at the scene, that Tracy was likely killed sometime actually really close to the time she left the house, 12:30 and 1:30, a very small window. They believe that she was likely an assailant of some sort came upon her and either forced her into the car as she was trying to get into it or forced himself into the car, attacked, raped, and took her life. Then he later placed the car in the parking lot. At her autopsy, the medical examiner also found, and this is terrible, you guys, second-degree burn marks up and down her body. I tried to look to see if these were pre or post mortem. They don't give any information, but it appears in some way that this man also tried to torture her in some way or defile her post mortem. So we get a quick interview from Tracy's sister and from the detective, and they believe that they've gotten several tips that suggest that drugs and narcotics were involved in Tracy's death. There is quite a bit of speculation that her boyfriend ran in these crowds and either had crossed somebody, owed money to somebody, and likely even knows her killer. However, he and his cousin, after a couple polygraph tests and several other things, are actually cleared of any part of this crime and wrongdoing. So they are kind of off the table, which is hard. That's one of the reasons I'm kind of keeping some of my opinions to myself is he is innocent in the what happened to Tracy. It makes me sad that he didn't care enough about her to respect her things or to walk her to her car. However, he did not have a hand in what happened to her
No one's
after
saying
she left.
Yeah, I'm not saying he had anything to do with it. We know that.
Yeah. But he appeared to be a loser.
But, you know, was he a good boyfriend? From the story told.
And according to her sister,
I'm just saying, from the story told, it doesn't.
no. He does not appear to
It
be a good
doesn't
boyfriend.
come in a great light.
No. Mm-mm. So, that's kind of where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us. Like, they have nothing.
Yeah. All right. Give us our update.
You guys, good news. This is solved. In August of 2005.
Good for them for
sticking with it.
Sticking
with it. This is when I said what I did, I think last week when I talked about the two girls from Sweden.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some DNA evidence there because this was back in 1989. So 2005, DNA that had been found on her body was linked to a convicted rapist named Frederick McKinley. However, it's found out that he passed away in 2002. So a couple years before this results came in, while serving time in prison for an unrelated crime. So it is considered closed. We know who did it. We don't know the how and the why necessarily.
I was curious if there was any ties or if this was a random act.
So I'll tell you this. I did not read anything, and there's not a lot on this after they kind of figured out who it was and then closed it.
Well, it is closed.
Yeah. But
unfortunately.
they did not seem to think, there was no mention that he ran in that circle or that he was a part of the drug scene or anything like that. This is in 2007. However, he was also linked to a 1985 rape and murder again. So I really, this guy could potentially be a serial killer, a serial rapist and serial killer because it is possible that more DNA or unknown or unknown cases at this point.
Well, if he was someone that acted randomly, then there's a bunch of cases out there that they haven't run against him.
Exactly. So in 1985, a young girl who was 19 years old named Tina Marie Kriskany was found inside of her home, had been raped and murdered. And it turns out that it was him. So that was in 1985.
And
And
this happened.
Tracy's happened in 1989.
So he was
4 years.
That's a 4 year. We haven't even no idea if he started before 1985 or how long he went after 1989.
And then I found out the original reason that he was sentenced for life for murder. I don't have any more information on what that murder was, but also possession of cocaine. Multiple
What
possessions
year
of
was that?
cocaine. I don't know. He had been in prison for several years for armed robbery and other things, and he was originally released in 1995. It was only free for 4 months before committing the crime of murder and cocaine possession before being sentenced for life. So in 96-ish, he's convicted.
Yeah, but he was in prison until 95, and we don't know from when to when.
For 7 years. So go back.
That's no, because then that would put him back to 1987, and we know that's untrue.
He might not have served the full 7 years. He
That's
might have
what
been,
I mean.
yeah.
We don't know if he went in 92, that means from 89 to 92, he could have committed a bunch.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's obviously it's a sad story. It's tragedy. This girl's just walking to her car at 12:30 at night. And it seems like it's my hypothesis, and this is just me putting it out. This man saw an opportunity. And he was, a bad person.
Bad person.
These are things like I remember talking to you about this as a female. I always park my car under lights. I walk with my keys between my fingers. All of these like different rules that we have in our head as females to keep ourselves safe. Pretending to be on the phone with someone, having 911 on speed dial on your phone. When I was a teenager and in my early 20s living on my own, 911 was my number one contact on my phone. All I'd do was press 1 and call, and it would call it out. And I remember asking you like, "Well, what about you?" And you being like, as a male, like, you have never had to think about those things. That's not constantly playing in your mind. And it's stories like Tracy that we listen up as we are growing up and we think, "Okay, how could I be more aware? How can I prevent this from happening? How can I protect myself from assailants like this?" And I guess the light bulb moment that men's mentality in your guys' life and women's mentality in parts of our life are so vastly different based on things like this. So, all right. I'm strapped in and ready for you to tell me my kidnapping story that's going to make me mad.
Fortunately, it is going to be a murder, not just kidnapping. All right. Austin, Texas, December 29th, 1991. They tell this story weird, but not in a bad way.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah. It's just weird because I don't know. They almost seem like these guys were the ones that brought it to them, not the police.
Yeah, I was kind of confused.
But maybe they weren't. I don't know. So they tell a story. They introduce Steve Marks. He is a guy. He's heading out. He's meeting up with his two brother-in-laws at a friend's house, and they're gonna hang out and do something. Right? It's 8:55, and he tells us that he is driving down Powell Street, and he's not very far from his friend's house, and he notices a tan car driving really slow, like obnoxiously slow. And he just thinks it's weird. He gets in front of his friend's house. He pulls up to his friend's house and he notices the car pulls into like the parking garage just ahead and is doing a U-turn. He's like, it's just weird. Says about a minute later, his brother-in-laws show up, and that's Mike and Bill Goins. And they say, yeah, we actually ran into this tan car too, going the wrong way on a one-way street. It looked like they were trying to turn down that one-way street, and he's coming the wrong way. And they said they kind of had a standstill where they're parked there.
If you're trying to be inconspicuous, going the wrong way down a one-way street is not going to do it for you.
So they kind of had this, they're stopped. They want to turn down this one-way street, but they can't because this guy's going the wrong way. And they said they noticed two guys in it, and they kind of sat there, kind of waited, like, what are you guys, are you going to get out of the way or what? So they finally do. But they even admit, it's like, yeah, but we didn't because we didn't know anything crazy was going on, we didn't memorize their faces or look at a bunch of features, which fair, I get it. But so all three of these guys had some weird encounter with this car, right? So, around 9:00, they all meet up at their friend's house, and they say they're on the porch figuring out what they're going to do for the evening, making their plans, and 200 feet away is a car wash, a do-it-yourself car wash, where I'm sure we've all seen it. They still have them around today. You pull in, there's the power wash hoses and the scrubber brush. You just got to get out and you got to do it. Do it yourself, right?
Want to hear something crazy?
Yep.
I one time because in growing up in a small little town, these things are about the only option to wash your car. We didn't have fancy drive-through ones, right?
Yeah, those weren't as big.
Yeah. I had a weird encounter one night when I was doing this after work that made me really uncomfortable. Just a guy walking back and forth, and I was realizing that once the power washer's on, it's loud. It's kind of crazy. I rinsed my car off and left.
Eat it out
And
of
ever
there.
since then, I've never gone back to another one because, again, I felt as a female, I was putting myself in a dangerous position to not be aware of my surroundings.
Couldn't do it. I don't blame you. All right. So they're hanging out on the porch. This car wash is not too far. And they hear screaming and a door slam. But they say from their view, they can't see in the bays. They can see the vacuum area, but it's kind of turned sideways. So they can't really see what's going on. But they go over there. They're and then they said they saw a car hightailing out of there and going again the wrong way on a one-way street where it almost hits two vehicles head on, but they avoid it. So they go over there, and there's a car that's half washed. There's purse and keys in the trunk, or in the car, not in the trunk, and they're like, you know what? And they say, something's wrong, go call the police. So they call the police. Police show up, they start an investigation. They realize, and they tell us, the car belongs to 28-year-old Colleen Reed. She's a certified public accountant, a CPA. And now they say they traced her whereabouts that day. She'd gone to church with her boyfriend that day, then did some community work. She went to the market, withdrew some cash, and then went to the car wash at 9:00 that night, or just past 9:00 that night. So the police come in and tell us, hey, listen, this car almost collided with two people. We'd like those people to come forward and tell us if they know anything or if they've seen anything. They've obviously interviewed these three guys to what the best that they know. And the detective's on there. He's like, we want to solve this. And something's going on. They don't know where Colleen is. And they even bring in Colleen's two sisters. They interview her. They're looking for her. They just want some answers, and they're worried. So that is really where Unsolved Mysteries leads.
I know.
We do
this
have
was
a
a
kidnapping.
terrible story. Yeah.
And this is serious. So,
All right.
Are you ready for your update?
Yes.
Okay. Solved. So they tell us a week before this aired, police brought in a man by the name of Alva Hank Worley. He was in custody, and he was in Belton, Texas, and he admitted to the kidnapping. Him and a friend supposedly kidnapped her. But he says when he left, she was still alive. I think she was.
Okay.
The story is terrible.
Okay.
It's awful.
So these men kidnapped a woman.
So the police are looking for Kenneth Allen McDuff. He's 46 years old, 245 pounds, which means you're a big boy. And he's from Waco, Texas. So they kind of give
Chip and Joanne?
They kind of give an update there.
Yeah.
Now for your
for the
second update.
Let me get this straight. There's two men in the car. They kidnap a woman. One of the guys is arrested a week before the story airs and sells out the other guy in the car.
So I came to find out the police had an idea on this guy. They had a line on him, and they knew he was friends with this Alvin guy, and they had been questioning him. And one detective had kind of been doing some legwork on him quite a bit, and the guy, when they questioned him, they knew he was hiding something, so they kept pressing, and eventually he broke.
So this is the story that he tells him, that he participated in the kidnapping with his buddy. But when he left the kidnapping occurrence, whatever that time wrapped up, she was still alive, but she was still in the custody of.
If you wanted to know the terrible story, he threw him in the back. His buddy, not Alva, Kenneth, got in the back seat, raped her, beat her, drove her to a field, knocked her unconscious, threw her in the trunk, and then drove his friend to his apartment and dropped him off and said he was going to go continue what he needed to and then
deal with it.
And it's possible he raped her a second time in front of his friend, but then kept her and then killed her.
I hate these men.
This isn't even the worst of it.
Like, this story's like making me choke up.
So let me give you the second update.
Okay.
1992, Kenneth Alvin McDuff is captured. He was actually shown on America's Most Wanted. He was in Kansas City. Police did a sting, captured him, and he was brought back to Texas. Was charged. He was convicted and sentenced to death. And 1 month before his execution, which he was executed in 1998, Texas didn't wait around. He led the police to her remains. But I'd come to find out there was 2 other women's remains there. This man has killed 9 people that they know.
9 women?
Yep. No, not just 9 women, a man too. This man was convicted for the murder of 3 people in 1966.
I'm sorry, what?
And sentenced to death. When he was 20 years old, him and his friend were driving around, saw 2 teenage girls and a boyfriend, went up to them. He pulled a gun on them, told them to get in the trunk. He raped the 2 girls. I might be getting but he raped them, put them in the trunk, and unloaded on the trunk. Killed, and then I think he took one of them, raped her, and killed her. He was then convicted of those 3 murders and sentenced to death.
So what was this pile of garbage doing out of prison?
But in 1972, a U.S. Supreme Court ruling, Furman versus Georgia. Here's the thing, I can't speak to this ruling, but it had to do something with there was like 600 death row inmates across the country, and they ruled in some way that it violated their amendment rights for cruel and unusual punishment. Here's the thing, I can't get in and speak to, I kind of tried to read up on it, but it's confusing. And that.
What is the name of the thing? The ruling?
Furman versus Georgia. So he was resentenced to life, but then paroled in 1989.
How do you get parole after being
And then
sentenced to
after
life.
that, went on to kill 5 more women.
That parole board should be held liable.
He kidnapped a lady out of a convenience store and killed her. He was driving around and just saw people and attacked them and killed them. This man was an absolute monster. Monster. Just a complete terrorizer of the world. Should have never been out of prison in the first place. But unfortunately, he got out, and 5 more women suffered from that. He killed Sharifa Parker on October of 1989, Brenda Thompson in October of 1991, Regina Deanne Moore in October of 1991. He killed like 2 women in the matter of 5 days. Colleen Reed, who we were talking about, Valencia Joshua in February of 1992, and Melissa Northrup in March of 1992.
Get off on doing it with his friend in the car watching. What a sicko. And also, F all the guys right off who sat in the passenger seat and were okay with this behavior.
Yeah. Melissa Northrup was 22 years old and was pregnant. Yeah. So he's a monster. And the other guy, Alva, was sentenced to 40 years in prison. The death penalty was taken off the table for his cooperation. He was sentenced. He's eligible. He was denied parole, but he's eligible for release.
When?
2032. Technically, that would be his 40 years.
All right.
I don't know how old he is. I'd have to look.
Wait, he's not eligible for parole. Is he sentenced to life or 40?
40 years.
So then he's done.
He's done.
Unless he commits other crimes in prison, but those don't even usually have long additions. So this man is going to be out.
I don't know how old he will be.
I hope he dies in prison before then.
It's only 6 years away.
He's a monster.
This guy is a monster. He's a serial killer.
Yes. And his friend is a monster too.
Killing without regard. So, I knew that would make you angry. So here's the thing, it makes me angry.
I looked up Furman versus Georgia. So this was a landmark Supreme Court case. That they decided that arbitrarily and inconsistencies in the death penalty violates our rights as American citizens, the 8th and 14th Amendment, and is deemed cruel and unusual punishment. So this was, I can't use the words that I want to use. I understand what the Supreme Court was doing, because it basically then changes it that so 5 justices each write separate support for the decision, although the justices did not rule that the death penalty was unconstitutional. It was that the way it was being
implemented too
loosely.
Here's the thing, and that's what I think, but I can't speak too much on it because I don't know too much about it.
So this meant that it invalidated the death sentences for about 700 people and mandated a degree of consistency in the application of. So again, I understand that all of that makes sense. And so then states had to then rearrange their laws and their rulings around the death penalty. Cool, great, we're all on board. How that became the jumping off point for a county or a state, depending, I guess this guy would have been in county or like he wasn't in federal prison, he was in state prison, to give this man that had been eligible and convicted to this degree and was opposed to the death sentence, or not opposed, it was imposed onto him. How we get from A to B is a huge miscarriage of justice on the department or of the men and women in charge of these cases at the time. What happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said,
Did the parole board not know what this man had done in the past and the grievous?
So I read on that.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I just looked at it was two guys and their girlfriend, and she was only like 16.
So she was a
She
child.
was a child.
Yeah.
He put those two guys in the trunk, unloaded on the trunk, then took her, raped her, and killed her. Okay. But there was another guy with him at the time, and he hired a lawyer, and he put together a bunch of stuff, a dossier of sorts that pretty much made it look like the other guy was the killer. He made a bunch of points that the other man that was there was the killer, which is he's technically the one that went to the police and ratted him out. That's how he got caught. And so they gave him parole. There was, as you know, to take this for what it is, there was speculation that he tried to bribe the parole board. I have no evidence of that. I don't know. But that's how he got paroled in the first place. And
but the parole board is not supposed to take into account he was still convicted.
You're asking a bunch of questions. Like, yes, you're right. And that just goes to show.
I'm not asking you these questions because I'm expecting you to have answers. I'm asking these questions.
No, I'm saying I think you're asking all the same thing we're all asking. I agree with you. Technically, a parole board is not. You don't get to make a case.
You don't get to introduce new evidence.
Well, you don't get to make a case and say, "This is why I'm innocent."
Yeah,
that's out the window. Like that happens in court. You're done. You have to acknowledge. Convicted. You have to acknowledge and admit that.
And you went from being convicted of a horrific crime,
3 murders,
and sentenced to death to then being granted parole is wild.
And due to that,
because that was at that point, 3 people
more.
dead,
And
5 more people
and
died.
That's that we know about.
Yeah. And a pregnant woman that was having a baby. So I'll even count that as an extra life lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
so, like I said, I mean, it's a very sad story.
Well, yeah. I mean, do better. Parole boards. Like, I will say, you have a lot of responsibility and weight on you as a parole board member. I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it takes to be on a parole board. I am sure that is heavy. But I will say, the thing that's great about a parole board, you're not there like a jury member where it's innocent till proven guilty and you have to put your biases aside. No, your entire job is to judge this person. And I'm grateful that those boys, I understand in the end it didn't change the outcome necessarily, but to hear a scream, if you hear a scream nowadays, who goes running?
No, I mean, I think it was great that these guys, they noticed something off, they heard something, they went, they called the police, and they were trying to get on this guy. And it sounded like they were investigating.
It got a description of a vehicle. It got eyes on the case.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, guys, that is our recap. We went from Noah's Ark to
serial killer.
Me being angry at a parole board and serial killers and just bad humans in general.
I mean, here's the thing. When the minute I read that he'd already committed 3 murders and somehow he got out of jail on 3 murders.
Insane.
And due to that, I think I kept saying 5. Due to that, 6 more women died because of that. Yeah. That didn't need to be.
And then he just dumped him in a field somewhere.
Yeah, he dumped him in multiple different places. Because several of his victims were found, but then when he led him to Colleen's body, there was several more remains.
And there could be more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that is the recap of season 4, episode, I think 22 of Unsolved Mysteries. If you don't want to hang around with chitty chat time with Ben, please feel free to exit stage right. And for the rest of you guys, take a seat. We'll make this one a quick one because we have adult responsibilities we've got to get to as soon as we're done recording. So Ben, what, if anything, do you hope I can accomplish at CrimeCon. Do you have any hopes and dreams for CrimeCon? For me or for you during that blissful weekend?
Um,
I will say, let me restructure that. Do you have any goals of being home with only one child over a weekend while I am at CrimeCon? What's your honey to-do list?
I honestly haven't thought of
You
it
haven't
yet.
even thought about, because you
Mm,
normally have like a project in
I do,
mind.
but it's still right now. It's still 2 weeks away.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get there probably next week. I'll start digging into what I want to get done, and I'll probably try to get
I've got a
something
few
done.
things I could add to your
I'm
list.
sure you could. But no, I haven't dug into that yet. But for you,
Mm-hmm.
I hope you get to meet Chris Hansen and who's the other guy? The
Keith
white hair.
Morrison.
Yes, Keith
Who's
Morrison.
the other guy? Keith Morrison.
Yes,
Yeah.
Keith Morrison.
I don't
But
even know. I haven't looked at the agenda. I don't even know if they're going to be there.
I hope they are, and you get to meet him,
That would be great.
and you get to take a picture with him.
I don't know if I'd take a picture with him.
That would be weird.
I don't take pictures with a lot of famous
You
people.
took a picture with someone who was in Unsolved Mysteries.
If I met Robert Stack, now obviously he's no longer with us, RIP, I would take a picture with him.
Everyone would.
Everyone would. I'd ask him if I could wear his trench coat in the picture.
Yes. All right. What are your goals for CrimeCon?
My goals, I've got a few of them. One, I my intent, and it's not always perfect because human intent is not always perfect, is that our podcast is very victim focused and victim driven. We do like to goof off and have a little bit of fun, and I try to blend some of these hard, terrible stories with some lightheartedness and some nostalgia and all of those things. I think Unsolved Mysteries gives us a good opportunity to do that because we get to talk about things like Noah's Ark or, Bigfoot or the Yeti hand or different things like that, so we can have some fun. But ultimately, I do hope to come across as someone who victims and their families are important. And the good thing about CrimeCon is that that's actually one of their main goals. There's a lot of advocacy work that takes place at CrimeCon. So I'm hoping to learn how to do that at a professional level and learn and understand. There is several families, from my understanding, um, I think like Gabby Petito and different organizations of some pretty big crimes that have happened in our lifetime, whose families have started advocacy groups or charitable events and different things like that. They're going to be there talking and sharing their stories. Um, I will probably cry a lot listening to those, getting to hear from parents who, children's are victims of crimes and different things. I am excited to learn how to make sure that we are doing what we can to be victim focused. I am excited to get to hang out. I have a whole group chat with multiple female podcasters who I've actually never met in real life, but now over the course of this last year and a half of doing this podcast, I've gotten to connect with them, and I consider them, some of them, my really, really good friends. Most of them actually got a spot on Creator Row, which is a huge deal. So I'm going to feel like a baddie walking in there, like, I'm with them, right? And I'm excited to support them and stop by their tables and cheer them on and to learn from them as well and get to connect and build with them. And then last off, yeah, I really hope to grow our podcast. I love what we do. This podcast is like my baby. And I don't know if it shows, but I think about this podcast and how to make it better and how to improve and how to do all of these things literally morning and night. And I'm very hopeful that going and connecting and getting to meet other fellow fans of true crime. If you're at CrimeCon and you're listening to this, Follow me on social media because I'm going to be posting every day at the different events and different things I'm going to. I'm going to be really active during the weekend on social media because I have a bunch of free merchandise. I'm hoping to connect with some of our listeners, to connect and to grow more listeners and bring more awareness and attention to our podcast. Because ultimately, I have some big goals for this. And one of the big goals I have is advocacy work. Am n I feel other people's emotions, and I have a bleeding heart in a good way for some very specific causes, especially that center around, female victims. After I watched that, um, documentary about what happened to the girls in the FLDS church with Sam, I started looking up if I could commute every once in a while up to, because we don't live far from that area. If I could go up there and start doing advocacy work for these girls and how I can rescue underage girls that are in this and all of this. And it obviously, I went down a rabbit hole. And there are several crimes like unto that I feel very drawn to. And I really hope that as I grow this podcast, that I will have the platform and the ability to do more with victims and advocacy work and bringing awareness and outreach groups and different things like that. So it's a lot. And of course, I hope to have fun and look cute while doing it. You guys, I have so many fun outfits picked out. I scheduled an appointment to get my hair like a hair fancy blowout, which I've never done like a glam blowout before, but when in Rome. So I'm excited to do that. I live in a small town. We don't have like blowout bars available like in our area. So I'm excited to go, and that's it. There's a 90s kickoff party. My outfit, I'm very nervous about it. I sent Ben a picture of it the other day. I'm very excited. I'm not going to give that what away it is. You got to follow me on social media. So, okay.
Well, I'm excited for you.
All right. Well, I didn't get a chance to read our reviews, but we are already running crazy over on time. So we'll do that again next week. And join us for another episode of
Unsolved Mysteries.
Bye.